Hello, I'm Dr. Elizabeth Freed, and welcome to It's My Honor. Today, it's my honor to introduce you to Todd Bernashe. Todd Bernashe is a Naval Seabee. Seabees are part of the civil engineering branch of the Navy. They do construction projects and set up camps for various branches of the military. So welcome, Todd. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great, Elizabeth. Thank you for this invitation.
That's great. I'm delighted to interview you. So tell me about some highlights of your career. We'll start with that. How about it?
Sounds great. In a previous tour, I served with Logistics and Support Unit 2, where I was filling the Operations Master Chief role. And with that role, you're really responsible for personnel, logistics, supplies, assisting in some of the team training during their multiple phases of workups before they deploy. So as the job was brand new to me and I had to learn the ropes and kind of figure out what they were asking of me, I started by building relationship with the operation master chiefs amongst the different SEAL teams in the area. And I noticed that there was a bit of animosity between our command and some of the teams, which alerted me. So as I dug deeper and spoke with some of the specialists within our branches, I found that it wasn't so much a personality problem. It was more of a personnel, a equipment, a logistics problem that we just weren't able to meet the needs of the teams when they needed the support. So what we did is we worked as a team and we developed left and right limitations that we could brief to the teams so that they would understand when and where we could support them. Next, we met with the teams and some of our specific personnel within the different divisions, and we really laid out the priorities, who needed what when, so we could give them the equipment, the tools, the logistics, the vehicles, and the personnel really when they needed them, rather than just throwing everything out there all at one time. And what I found over time was the relationship actually, of course, improved because we were all becoming more productive. And ironically, this was all happening during a manning reduction, which added extra stress to the entire situation. But ultimately, after about a year, we were actually performing better. They had more time with the resources they need, and they were actually improving their training.
Great. Now, how would you say this impacted in terms of, let's say, productivity improvement or reduction of expenses?
Well, although I don't have specific numbers for that increase, I would say that, as I stated earlier, we took a significant manning reduction during this time. And although that's hard to quantify, because we were changing the culture at the same time, what we actually did end up with at the end of the day was more production with less resources, and a better relationship between the teams.
Great. So based on this experience, how do you see the skill set you have transfer to the civilian workforce?
Well, that's a great question. I think that ultimately being able to get to the deeper problem, not to take the problem at surface value, and really get to understand what the problem is and what the two folks on either side of the problem were trying to communicate. A lot of times it's a communication problem rather than a logistics or an actual equipment or numbers problem. And I think that I've learned over the past 24 years really how to deal with different diverse groups of people within different industries. And building those relationships sometimes is more productive than actually throwing more assets at the problem.
Great. So as you start to look for a place to land in the civilian workforce, what kind of culture are you looking for from an organization?
Well, that's something we've talked a lot about in THF, and really finding your fit in a company has become one of my top priorities. And a company that is willing to tell you how they feel and accept your comments, is very open to different opinions, a company that really truly values what the people bring to the table is something that's really important to me. I want to really feel part of the company, like I can contribute, and that contribution is accepted all the way up to their particular chain of command. So a company that's inviting and open to opinions and growth is something that's really important to me.
Okay. So if I had the opportunity to sit down and have a cup of coffee with your commanding officer, what would he or she tell me your strengths are?
Well, I think my commanding officer would probably tell you that I'm dependable and reliable, especially within high stress situations. I typically find myself in those situations when there's limited personnel or assets or logistics and time. And when other folks sometimes end up shutting down and having trouble with those situations, I have an ability to slow down and think through those situations and get to the resolution.
Great. So tell me once again, when are you transitioning?
Sure. I'm transitioning on 1 July of this year.
Great. Well, I want to thank you again, Todd, for taking, excuse me, taking the time to talk with me this morning, because it has been my honor. So thank you and good day.
Thank you, Elizabeth.